everyone, I'm Mark McShane, Doctor of Physical Therapy and Certified Running Gait Analyst, coming to you from Body Rebuilders Physical Therapy Clinic in Bala Cynwyd, PA. And today I'm going to show you a movement screen that I use for my runners and my running athletes to help me make clinical decisions about rehab, injury prevention, and improving performance. We're going to start with a couple different movements, and I'll show you what I look for in each one when I assess someone. The first movement we're going to do is a forward bend. So I'm going to have Luke here bend forward to touch his toes, and he's going to try to keep his knees straight as he does this. Okay. All right, so what I'm looking for here is that we get nice symmetrical movement from his back, so he's rounding through his back. He's able to touch his toes. Do you have any pain with this? No. Wonderful. And he can keep his legs straight. Those are the three main markers that I look for in this. All right, the next one we're going to look at is extension or backward bend. So look, I'm going to have you put your hands on your hips, and you're going to extend backwards as far as you can. What I'm looking for here is that Luke's hips come forward of his toes. His back of his shoulders come past the back of his heels. And then we're getting relatively symmetrical movement from the different areas of the spine. Next is the squat. So look, I'm going to have you squat down and try to keep your heels on the ground. Go down as far as you feel like you can go. I'm looking for a couple things on this. I don't want his toes to turn out. And I'll show you from the side what else we're looking for here. What I want to see is that Luke can go down far enough that roughly he has parallel tibia and parallel trunk. He's pretty close here, and we can get down past 90 degrees of knee and hip flexion, so I would give this a passing grade. You might also notice that your heels might raise up when you do this, and that can be because of a lack of ankle mobility. So that's something that we would want to check out. Okay. Next, we're going to look at trunk rotation. So Luke, I'm going to have you keep your feet in place, and you're going to turn and look behind you. What I want to see is that his far shoulder is still visible if we're looking at him from behind. Go ahead and go to the other side. Same thing here. So he'll get a passing grade on this movement because we can see that far shoulder. He can rotate enough that we can visualize it. Next, we're going to look at stability and single leg standing. So I'm going to have you stand up. Good. Bring that foot a little bit more forward in front of you. You're going to hold this position. When you feel comfortable, I want you to close your eyes, and you're going to try to hold this for 10 seconds. A little bit of wobble back and forth isn't the end of the world, but it shouldn't be to the extent that your foot needs to move the position that it is on the floor. Good. Try the other side. Oh, we'll close your eyes. Good. Okay. The next one we're going to do is a single leg squat from the chair. So I'm going to have Luke scoot forward a little bit on the chair here. All right. What you're going to do is kick one foot out and stand up 7 times in a row with just one leg. What I'm looking for as he goes here is that his hip, his knee, and his ankle are all aligned, and we're not getting too much wobble or instability. We're going to compare this side to side. So a little bit of shaking, but that's pretty good. I would count that as a passing grade for this movement. So for the last one in standing, what we're going to look at is the unilateral or single leg heel raise. First thing, what I'm going to have you do, Luke, is to raise up on both balls of your feet here. And I'm just going to take a rough measurement. I'm going to hold my hand here for how high his heel is. Now go ahead and drop back down. Now just on your left leg, you're going to do left single leg heel raises. You're going to do about 10 of them. I want to see that he can do 10 to at least the height that he did when he was doing a bilateral heel raise. Good. So roughly the same height, and I'd give that a passing grade for this movement as well. Compare it side to side. Next is the bridge. What I'm going to have Luke do is make sure his feet are shoulder width apart, his hands are down flat on the table, and I want you to lift your hips up and hold that position there, okay? First thing I want to make sure is that we're not dipping side to side, so there's not a whole lot of movement in the transverse plane here. You can keep your pelvis relatively stable. And next, what I'm going to have you do, Luke, is lift up one leg off the table, and he's going to hold this position for about 10 seconds. I'm going to continue to look for, can we keep the pelvis stable here? This is a test for stability around the hips. So I want to make sure you can hold that position, and we're going to check side to side. Now, when you do this, where do you feel it?
In the glutes.
Perfect. So that's the right answer. A lot of people will feel this in their hamstrings, and that actually means that that is a failing grade for this. You should feel this mostly in your glutes because the glutes should be doing the work during a bridge, especially single leg bridge. Last but not least is the side plank. Luke's going to hold a side plank here for 10 seconds. And what we want to see is that we're not having the hips dip down and that he's not rolling back and forth. 10 seconds on either side. So that's the runner's readiness assessment that I'll use for my runners, my athletes who run, or even just athletes or people who perform recreational sports who want to improve performance. It's a really good way of getting a snapshot of any kind of limitations in mobility, stability, or strength, or motor control that let me kind of guide my decision making along how the person's going to present in real life. Right? So we also take a look at things like individual range of motion of joints and strength and a little more balance. There's a whole foot assessment that we can do, especially for runners, in addition to analyzing running gait and seeing what kind of patterns you might fall into in the way that you move. All of this combines to help us form a plan of care that's specific to you.